Hey, have you ever struggled with keeping a commitment to yourself? Like maybe exercising or getting off Facebook for a while or eating healthy or whatever it may be. I've had a struggle like this lately, and as I thought about why it was that I kept coming back to this and why I couldn't stay consistent in it, I had some powerful ahas, and I wanted to share those today because I think they may offer some insight to others about maybe why they do some of the things they do and what keeps us stuck there. So, before I get into my struggle, I just wanted to say that I think it's normal for us to start working really hard in an area of our life and do really well in it for a while, and then maybe life gets busy or something comes up or we get distracted, and the things that we were doing start to slowly melt off our plate, and we find ourselves feeling like we're back to square one, which we're really not because we learned in the process, but it kind of feels that way sometimes, like, why do I keep struggling with this over and over? And I was doing that myself. And one of the things I teach in the Waking Warriors courses is that there's 7 areas in our life, well, 6 foundational ones, that keep us progressing, that keep us balanced. And if we neglect one of them, we tend to kind of feel off balance and not really free to explore our creativity. And so that first area is our time management and how we use our time and prioritizing our things right. And that's what the free basic training course is about. And then the next course is the Waking Warrior Journey course, and that covers the other 6 areas. And so there's the heart, the body, the mind, our environment, our relationships, and then the capstone is our creativity. Once we have those things in order, we can move forward and do those things that feel free and able to do those things that bring more light and joy to the world. So the area that I was struggling with, I call them fortifications because they strengthen our ability to fight against the enemy and to fight with God. And so the fortification I was struggling with was fortification number 3, which is the body, like our health. And I think this is probably one of the areas that most of us struggle with because it's tricky with so many temptations around us that keep us wanting to not be healthy. And so I talk about in the Waking Warriors course how our body is an instrument of our spirit and how it's so important that we keep it well tuned because it's a weapon that we have that the adversary, that enemy, does not have. So we can use it to fend off his attacks. So we can use it to connect to God, to hear him, to understand him better, and to create. And so it's really important. And for some reason, it's also one that I have a really hard time being consistent with. So for a while, I was doing really well. And so here's where my struggle came in. I did well because I had to. I had autoimmunity and I wanted to get over it. And so I did all I could to do that. And I was being really healthy. But once my symptoms went away and I was feeling better, I started, allowing in little things here and there, which was probably okay. But then lately, what I found myself doing is I would start my day off with my healthy goals and I'd start doing okay, but then I'd allow something here or there that was kind of against the rules I had set for myself. And then little by little, I'd start to snowball into more and more. And by the evening, I was okay with eating sugary things again and things that I knew were going to really make me feel pretty sick because it just kind of snowballed into this. Well, I've already kind of messed up. Kind of what I talked about in the video I did about fear, where I thought, well, the God of perfectionism is already not going to pat me on the back, so I'll just try again tomorrow, and then the next day kind of went the same, and I was doing this for a while. Finally, I was like, okay, what is the matter here? What's really happening? Because I know I can do this. I've done it before. Why do I keep falling into this justification mindset? And I had some interesting insights come to me. So one of the things I realized is that when I get into this snowballing justification mode, it's because I'm not being honest with myself. I'm making lame excuses for breaking my commitments to myself. They're not really, this isn't going to kill me. It's not a sin to eat dessert. It's just a few things here or there. And so it was just kind of, I had made a commitment and I was breaking it over some pretty lame excuses. I was seeking comfort in the wrong sources is really what I was doing. And I didn't want to face that fact. And so in order to keep myself from looking at the truth too deeply, I just kind of kept justifying and numbing. And so I would just stuff more chocolate chips in my face, right? To not think about why I was really doing it. I didn't want to go that deep. And so what this did is, once you start being dishonest with yourself, I realized this later, is that I start to see things in a skewed perspective. And instead of seeing my body, I'd look down, and instead of seeing my body with gratitude for the gift it was and all it was doing for me, and gratitude to God for granting me this incredible gift, I'd look down and I'd feel yucky, and I'd think, oh man, I see all my flaws, and I see all the extra pounds I was gaining, and I just think I'd feel bad about myself and about my body. I wasn't appreciating it. And the reason was that I was just seeing things from a skewed perspective. And you've probably experienced this, right? When you're not keeping your goals, you kind of feel yucky. But then the next day, once you said, okay, I'm really going to do this, and you start doing really well, you can look down and you feel like your body looks so much better, like you're so much more grateful for it, even though it looks exactly the same as it did yesterday, because you've gone through this process of really, okay, I'm going to face the fact that I have a problem, and I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to try. So when we're not in that trying mindset, when we're still in the justification mindset, everything is skewed, and we just see things not the way they really are. We see our body in a skewed way. And so I found this is what I was doing. I was seeing things in a cloudy way. And I realized, and this was another big aha for me, was that this was the meaning of beating myself up. I had heard people say, when I would talk to my family or something, and I'd say, I shouldn't have eaten so much of this, and I feel yucky, and my head feels foggy, and someone would say, don't beat yourself up. It's okay to eat that stuff once in a while. And I like how that made me feel, but it felt more like a Band-Aid, like I'm just putting a little Band-Aid over the problem. I'm just not willing to face reality about what's really going on, and I'm just saying, oh, well, it's okay. And in a way, they're right. We shouldn't beat ourselves up over it, right? We should move on, and not just say, oh, I'm so weak, blah, 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 and stay there, because that's not healthy. But not facing it and saying it's okay is also not true, because we're not treating ourselves with respect. When we make a commitment to ourselves and we don't keep it, we're really being unkind to ourselves. We're saying that our word to ourselves isn't important, and that the things that are really important to us don't matter as much as our immediate gratifications. And those are all things that are not kind. And so I was really beating myself up when I would stay in this mindset and this behavior of justification. And so I realized that this was not a good cycle to be in, the self-punishment idea. And I needed to stop and to see things as they really were. And so that's when I realized the solution. And I'm glad I came to this, because as I've been doing the Waking Warriors assignments that I write, one of them is that when I have negative emotions or things that aren't, I'm feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, I need to ask myself why. Pull back and say, why are these feelings here? So that's kind of what I did. I pulled back and I asked myself, why am I seeking comfort in food? What is it that I'm anxious about? And what is it that is making me want to turn to these sources? And then once I identified the real emotion, what was really making me anxious, then I could ask Heavenly Father to help me. Instead of going to chocolate chips, I would turn to God and I can say, I'm frustrated about this, or I'm feeling overwhelmed about this. Can you help me see things like you see them? And sometimes I had to open my heart up for His counsel, because He's not going to force His perspective on me. But if I have a softened heart, then He can reach me. And so maybe it required me saying a prayer, or giving a child a hug, or serving in some way, until my heart was softened and I could ask and I could see what I really needed. So once I was able to do that, I could give Him the frustration or the overwhelm or whatever, and I could see things more clearly, and I could feel at peace, and again be willing and able to be present. I could feel things deeply. I wasn't in that superficial mindset, and I could feel joy again and feel happiness in the moment, instead of trying to numb away my thoughts. And so that was really it. so simple. It's not about willpower or focusing on these health goals. It's about focusing on gratitude for my God and the body He's given me and the blessings He's blessed me with, and then just turning to Him when I have frustrations instead of to food or whatever other numbing device, Facebook or whatever else I use. And that allows me to have a lot more respect for myself and be able to forgive myself, because that's really the key, right? When I break a commitment to myself, instead of beating myself up with more food, I can forgive myself and just say, okay, well, I'm going to move forward. I can be realistic. Sometimes I think we worry too that when we make a commitment to ourselves, we're going to feel trapped. And that's a fear that kind of gets driven into our minds. And maybe that's why we also want to numb, because we don't want to feel trapped. But the fact is that our commitments do not trap us. We can change them anytime we want. If we feel like, you know what, this commitment is not something that's really going to take me to my goal, and we're in a state of mind where we are being honest with ourselves and seeing things in a long-term perspective, then we can change it. But if we are just wanting immediate gratification on something right now and we're not seeing things as they really are, then do we really want what we think we want? We don't. So what we really need to do is remember, we're not trapped. We're making these commitments because they're taking us to the place we really want to be, and we can change them anytime. But if we can learn to trust ourselves, we live with ourselves 24/7. We want to be able to live with someone that we can trust. It's hard to live with untrustworthy people. And so if we want to be able to trust ourselves, we got to be willing to make commitments and then work on keeping them. And then when we make a mistake, earn our trust back. Just say, okay, what went wrong? And let's try again as quickly as possible. Don't stay in that beating self up mode, because that's not healthy, and it is just going to keep you from really living life to its fullest and feeling those wonderful feelings of joy and peace. So one of the scriptures that I came across as I was working on this is in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. And I just thought, when I start feeling those temptations to go to my comfort foods for comfort, I'm going to try to remember this, and hopefully I can have it memorized. But right now I'm going to read it. It says, "My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me." And so that just helps me remember, doesn't that just make you feel strong? That with His strength and with His power, I can do the good for me and for others that I meant to do. And I can keep my commitments to myself. So I hope that you will join me on this round of the Waking Warriors journey. I'm going to open enrollment for a little while here next week, and then I'm going to close it again. We'll open enrollment again in July, because it goes in a 3-month cycle, so we can all be on the same page through the course. And so a precursor to that course is the basic training course. So you can do that this week, and then you can be ready to start the Waking Warriors Journey course with me the following week. And again, we'll go through the different areas and make little small steps in each day, so that we can feel balanced and have the peace and love that we need in order to be creative and live life in a joyful, happy way, instead of a stressed, busy, all over the place kind of way. So I hope to see you there this week. Just go to wakingwarriors.com and sign up for the free basic training course. And yeah, see you there. Bye.